when it comes to moralistic framing, okay, what happens is somebody's talking to you with a data package. Like, I want to shove this down your throat, like this systematic theology. Here you go. Trying to get you to accept this data as true. But instead of having an epistemic threshold of what you consider to be true, like what will it get to get you? What will it take to get you to believe something is true and adopt it and accept it and then be on board with that thing, okay? You would think that you have an epistemic threshold, like you have to meet these proofs with me. But that's actually not true, because almost anybody's epistemic threshold can be bypassed and hacked, if you will, cracked, if you want to use the technical term. It can be bypassed and hacked moralistically. So if your epistemic threshold is high, which it should be, we can completely bypass that and get around it by taking a moral road to get you to believe the thing that they want you to believe. They want you to believe this version of systematic theology. They can bypass your epistemic thresholds and go around them and take a moral road and get you there. Now, that is somebody exploiting the way the human body is made and using it against you. Because if it was just down to the data, you would probably turn down a lot of things that you have come to believe over the years. But people get to us and they cause us to affirm things not because of a data threshold or a truth claim proof level type of threshold, but because of a moral inroad, a moral backdoor. Imagine that you're a computer program or a piece of software that has a backdoor, okay? Imagine everybody, if we were all cybernetic, everyone's afraid if we become cybernetic and we start implanting things into our body, people become afraid that somebody's going to hack them. What if somebody gets control of me, remote control? Well, they can actually do that right now, you see? Except there's no technology involved. Well, there's tech know-how, but it's moralistic manipulation. And you have a backdoor. Imagine you're a piece of hardware and you have a backdoor into your software set. And that backdoor into your software set, and there's many of them, but one of them is morality. You can be moralistically manipulated and then essentially more or less remote controlled by an ideological entity like Calvinism or provisionism or Mormonism or something like that, okay? And what I want to do in this session is to get you to recognize when that is happening so that you can, in other words, if you can master what I'm trying to tell you today, you can patch that vulnerability so that it can't be exploited by a malicious threat actor. Because there's malicious threat actors out there who want to occupy you as territory, and the avenue of approach to get in your mind is not an epistemic threshold. They think you present it that way, but it's actually a moralistic inroad that they use to hack you, and now they have control of you. And like Joe says, they aim for the elephant, not his rider. Exactly. So when you know the difference between the elephant and the rider, which we'll talk about a little bit today, I have some slides on this right here. Yeah. They'll aim for the elephant. And so I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, so we can talk about that. So what happens is they have a data package, like the payload is data. Calvinism, for example, we talk about Calvinism a lot on this channel. The data payload may be the Calvinism data set, okay? And it may come in a book like this. Well, Calvinism does not meet any sound epistemic thresholds of proof, okay? Doesn't meet any of them. So they have to get to you moralistically. There has to be some kind of manipulative inroad to get you into Calvinism. There has to be some framing tricks involved in order to get people into Calvinism. Because if everybody was good, if everybody was a good epistemologist, there would be no Calvinism, okay? The only way something like Calvinism can spread is if people are not good epistemologists and we can bypass their epistemology. Hopefully they're unaware of their own epistemology, and we can use moralism to get around that. And so that's what we're looking at today. These two things, moralistic manipulation is very, very subtle. It's very subtle, and it can be difficult to spot. However, if detected, a manipulator can be completely disarmed. Once you realize what's going on, once you know what to listen for, once you hear the phrases, and you have your epistemic threshold of proof antenna up and running, you'll notice very strongly when something doesn't meet it. And we'll look at some examples today. Each earnest and conscientious person, that would be you and me, each earnest and conscientious person must be a diligent custodian of the information ecology, okay? So you're constantly scanning the information that's going back and forth that's intended for you or that's intended for people that you know, and you're scanning it to see if it meets the epistemic thresholds that would be required in order for somebody to rightly believe in it, okay? And so if you notice something is packaged, is delivered in a vehicle of moralism, you should know right away. Your red flag should go up and your radar should start sounding off that there's something wrong here. Something bad is going on. They always like to package things very beautifully. We'll bring you, and that's what kids do with breakfast cereals. You see, you know that breakfast cereals for kids, they're terrible for you. They're full of sugar and the wheat and the gluten. And all. It's just bad for you. It's all the simple carbohydrates, the junk food. It's about as bad for you as it can possibly be. But they attract you to it by getting on your salience landscape through other ways. They don't try to sell it as the healthiest thing. Try to sell it on taste, not health. They try to sell it. The box is fun. Maybe it's the box is patterned after a cartoon that the kid watches. All kinds of things other than the reason we should be eating is how this thing is packaged. And things like Calvinism, ideology, are packaged in a way to cause it to be appealing, even though the thing we're putting in our mind is just absolutely terrible for us and everybody else. So we want to watch out for that. So those two things right there, we must be diligent custodian of the information ecology. You don't have an option, okay? You can just either be manipulated like everybody else, or you can be this. And then, so understand that it's subtle, and understand that when a manipulator comes your way, if you know how to look for these things, you can actually completely disarm a manipulator, which is what we want to do. We want to disarm them and remove their potency and effectiveness.